Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Wednesday, the 19th of July. Continuing to work through the book of Acts with Robert Murray McShane, today we read chapter 6, which begins with the choosing of the 7 deacons in the church. We're told in those days, when the number of disciples was increasing, the Grecian Jews amongst them complained against the Hebraic Jews because their widows were being overlooked in the daily distribution of food. And as one reads that, for me it's a comfort almost that you have a church which is being led by Peter, James, John, the apostles that spent their 3 years with Jesus, that had been commissioned, that had filled with the Spirit, that were writing the Gospels, were healing the sick, were doing all these miraculous works. And yet the church had these problems. And it just reminds us that humans are not perfect. And we mustn't expect any organization, particularly not the church, to be perfect. There are problems and there will be problems. But they don't just leave and say, oh, there are problems. They actually then deal with it. And we're told that, so the 12 gathered all the disciples together and said, it would not be right for us to neglect the ministry of the word of God in order to wait on tables. Brothers and sisters, choose 7 men from among you who are known to be full of the Spirit and wisdom. We will turn this responsibility over to them, and we'll continue to give our attention to prayer and the ministry of the word. And so their solution is an entirely sensible, common sense, practical solution. There's no great big spiritual anything, praying and fasting and words, and it's just common sense. We see what the problem is. We've focused on this. That's being neglected. We haven't the time to do it, so let's choose somebody else. Give that responsibility to them. And we see that in the church today as well. There's so much that doesn't happen when you're relying on 1 or 2 people to do everything. And that's why we believe that God has given gifts to the church, and every single Christian has some form of ministry that can pick up those kind of issues and run with them. We see it there, common sense, practical solution. We need to be pursuing the same solution to our problems. So, encouraging. The most perfect church still has problems. Problems you deal with. You don't just ignore, you face them and you deal with them. And often it's a common sense answer that one needs. So, be encouraged that God works in common sense ways, not just miraculous, spectacular, out of this world ways. He works with blatant organizational structures, simple solutions, and God uses that to further his kingdom. And we know that as Christians, we're all part of that solution. So be encouraged, be challenged, and know that you're blessed.